Is that better? Sorry, I didn't realise the mute. Why did I not realise the mic was on mute? Hello, good morning. Welcome to Glasgow Rangers Nation. This is your podcast for this morning. Yes, sorry, Dado, there is sound now. Hopefully you've got sound now. It's Tuesday morning. It's Rangers. Obviously, we're going to talk Rangers. We're going to talk the squad. We're going to talk what needs to happen with the squad in going forward, because obviously this is a big summer. This is going to be a summer of change. Obviously, new owners coming in to the club, new manager on his way as well. Whether that be Barry on a permanent basis or a completely new manager, we don't know. We can't say. I'm running a poll in the live chat at this moment in time. The question is, James Tavernier, should we keep him? Do we sell him in the summer? Do we give him a new deal? Do we allow him to run down his deal and leave for nothing and then get a big payday? What do we do with James Tavernier? James Tavernier is out of contract in 2026. So he goes out of contract in 2026. So he has another, say, 18 months left on his present deal. So we're sort of moving into the kind of period where we need to start thinking about some of these contracts. We need to start thinking about some of these deals. Now, what we're going to do this morning is we're going to go through and we're going to look at the squad. We're going to look at the players. We're going to have a look at these squad lists. We're going to have a look at what we think should happen to these players, who should stay, who should go, what should happen to them. Now, before we do that, I just want to kind of talk a little bit about the situation with contracts, where we're up to with contracts. Dado, very funny this morning, water under the bridge. Yeah, unfortunately, Celtic don't do that, mate. They're not seeing it as water under the bridge. I've even heard a disturbing rumour this morning. I don't know how true it is, but apparently Celtic have made complaints about the Instagram post that Dujon Sterling posted yesterday, and the SFA are set to investigate Dujon Sterling over his Instagram post calling Parkhead a shithole. So apparently he could face disciplinary sanctions from the SFA for calling Parkhead a shithole. And to say, to say they didn't care and they don't care about that defeat. They do seem awfully triggered to me about the whole process. Really do seem triggered. JN, I'm glad Thailand's nice and sunny. Dalo says Patterson coming home. Possible. I mean, in terms of this money that Everton still owe us, Bobby, the 6 million, I think you'll see that paid off in the coming months, because the Friedkin Group, who own Everton now, are extremely wealthy. The guy who is in charge is Brian Friedkin. David, I don't know the guy's name, but it's something Friedkin, is a multi-billionaire, and he will pay off, I think, that debt very quickly and very easily. So I don't think that will be an issue going forward. But I'll be honest with you, I don't think Nathan Patterson has realistically got a future at Everton. He's not a player that features regularly. They would far more rather use Seamus Coleman and Ashley Young at right back, who are very old players. I mean, personally, I don't have any time for Everton. I hate Everton. Everton are one of the clubs I really did dislike with a passion. So, I don't have a lot of time for them. I don't have enough time for them. Let's have a look. So we've got no to Patterson, too injury prone. Yes, at the car side. Grant Willis says Patrick Stewart needs to stand up and do your job. Take this mob on. Let's hope he does. Let's hope we do stand up to them and we do kind of not allow them to walk all over us. And I agree with you on that. And we do need to really, put it down their throats and say, look, we're not going to stand for you going after our players, being so sad and pathetic over this whole incident. We're going to fight you. We'll fight you all the way. That's the way we need to go. Yeah, absolutely. We don't exist anymore. So why the outrage? They need to get their story straight. They do. Absolutely. 100%. They need to get their part. They need to get their story straight. They really do, because according to them, we died in 2012. We don't exist anymore. We are Sevco, apparently. And for a so-called Glasgow derby against Sevco, they seem to have got suddenly very worked up about the whole situation, don't they? It's interesting. Yeah, they are. They are oversensitive. They are, you know what? They're the most woke, pathetic individuals I have ever seen in my entire life. They really genuinely are. They are quite worrying from that aspect. Right. Well, let's have a look at this squad, and we'll look at the players. Now, the first thing we want to look at, obviously, we're going to look at contracts. So, the players who are out of contract this summer. Okay, so these are players that we need to look at in terms of their future. Okay, so these are players whose either their loan agreements run out, or their contracts run out, or they're at the end of their time at Rangers, or that we need to look at committing new deals to. Okay, so these are players I'm going to put up on the screen in a minute who are out of contract in the summer. So in summer 2025, the players that are out of contract with the club are Cheney, Lawrence, Hadji, Casanwejo, Fernandez, who I'd actually forgot was at the club. I mean, Rafael Fernandez has disappeared. I mean, where is he? I don't know. I really don't know where he is. He's disappeared off the face of planet Earth. So I honestly don't think that lad has any future at the club. You know, he hasn't been played. He hasn't been used. So I think we can write that one off. And then obviously Leon Balogun was only, recently out of contract. Now, they're the players that go out of contract in summer 2025. We're going to come to that, and we're going to discuss that, and we'll discuss the deals, and we'll discuss who stays and goes. When we go through the actual squad list, and we look at the squad list, and we'll get your opinion. I want your opinions this morning on who you think should stay, who you think should go. Now, in summer 2026, these players are all out of contract. Okay, so the players that are out of contract in 2026 are John Souttar, James Tavernier, Liam Kelly, and Bailey Rice. So these are the players who've got 18 months left on their deal. Now, these are the players that realistically we need to now be looking at. What does the future hold for them? Do we keep them? Do we sell them? What do we do with them? You can't allow them to go into next season entering the last year of their deal, because if you allow them to run down their deal, you're going to have a situation where you are going to find it very hard to sell them. And if you can sell them in January of 2026, it's going to be for a very much diminished fee. So decisions now need to be made by Niels Koppen, by the new manager, whoever that new manager is, by the football board. What happens with these players and their contracts? Now, I know that some of that will be held up by the ownership and by the situation in terms of transferring ownership from the present board to the new board. So, obviously releasing of funds, agreeing to contracts. Obviously, the new owners have to agree to all new contracts. So, there's that issue. Obviously, will hold the whole process up. We are the people says I'd give Balogun another year extension. Interesting. We'll discuss that. Airwolf says keep Souttar. Rice, the jury is still out. Keep Rice only 2026. Grant says, why can the police stand and watch the Rangers team arrive getting called orange bastards and do nothing but investigate a water incident? Because we don't cry like they do, mate. That's the difference. I would replace Balogun. He will continue to get injured, says JN. And Souttar keeps getting injured, says we are the people. So they're the summer 2026 people who are out of contract in the summer of 2026. And like I said, they're the people we now need to make decisions on. We cannot allow them to enter the last 12 months of their deal. The moment you enter the last 12 months, your value becomes suppressed if you are going to sell those players. So they're ones that we definitely need to consider, and we definitely need to think about. Grant says sell Tav, keep the others. Balogun isn't too expensive for a backup. That's an interesting point. Right. Presently, the poll that is running, 75% of you say sell him in the summer. 25% of you say allow him to run down his deal. Nobody as yet has said to keep to give Tav a new deal. What about the hundreds of missiles thrown at Rangers players? Will that be investigated? No, JN, of course it won't. But a little bit of water being squirted at one of their fans will be investigated. And no doubt Cheney will be found guilty of a breach of the peace or something, and they'll end up being some sort of fine or community service or some sort of suspended sentence or something, because it's them. Imagine Griffiths wiping his snotty nose on our corner flag, then taking the moral high ground. Agreed. Celtic fans swearing in public, Section 5 public order offence. Exactly. Right, let's have a look at this squad. As it stands at this moment in time. So this is the squad as it stands today. So these are our three goalkeepers: Butland, Kelly, and Munn. Okay. Jack Butland is under contract until 2027. So he still has 2 years to run on his deal. As I said to you, Liam Kelly is out of contract in 2026. Mason Munn has a long-term deal. So out of these players, Butland, Kelly, and Munn, that is a decent core of a goalkeeping group. Jack Butland obviously has gone through some dodgy times this year, has had some indifferent performances. Recently has had some very good performances. So, where do we stand on this? Where do we stand on these three? What would you do with these three? Who would you keep? Who would you sell? What would you do with them? Would you keep all of them? Would you sell all of them? What would you do with them? Let me know in the comments. So Dado says sell Butland. JN says in his comment, he says Butland needs to learn how to kick a ball. I think that's down to distribution, isn't it? So that's obviously something that can be worked on and can be developed. Look, I mean, personally speaking, Mason Munn, I think long term is the replacement. He is the man. He is the guy who will take over. So for me, Mason Munn long term, I think, is the long term replacement. Now, what I would do personally, and this is just my personal opinion, and please obviously feel free to disagree on this, but I would sell Kelly in the summer. Mason Munn would then be my backup. You then promote someone like Lewis Baudanakis to be the third choice goalkeeper. He's a decent keeper as well. Jack Butland, I would say that if a decent offer comes in for him, then we sell him. But I think at this moment in time, you are going to struggle, given his form this season, to actually get a decent market value for him. I don't think the market is going to be there that was there last summer. I mean, if you could go back to last summer, we came off the back of a very good Jack Butland season. We came off the back of him playing fantastically well to this season where he has had a very, very mixed season. So personally, I don't think that we're going to get a decent market value for Jack Butland if we were to sell him this summer. I'd also kind of look at it in terms of the fact that the new owners will come in. They will commit funds, yes, to redeveloping the playing squad in terms of, I think, about 20 to 25 million. But, I don't think we can afford to allow Butland to go, Kelly to go, and then sit in the situation where we have Munn and Baudanakis and nobody else. So I think, there is for me, yes, I would look at perhaps moving Kelly on. I'm sure, Liam Kelly would probably want first team football. He's not going to get that at Rangers. I would also say that, if you were to allow Butland to go, then Liam Kelly realistically is not the long-term option. Is not the long-term option as the number one. I don't think he's good enough to be a number one at Rangers. So, sell Kelly. I would keep Butland for now unless a substantial offer comes in for him. So I don't think he is as bad as people make him out to be. Yes, he has gone through some bad form this season. And hopefully, what this work that he's doing with McGregor, give him another pre-season. Hopefully we can get him back to that form that we saw the first season he was here. And I think we can all agree that first season he was here, he was absolutely top class. Grant says, keep all. Butland is coming back into a game unless we get offered silly money, loan out Munn. I mean, that's a decent shout. I think, in terms of Butland, you're right on that one. Unless we get offered, 10 million pounds, 12 million pounds, which we're not going to get offered realistically. I think last summer you would get that. But this summer, I don't think there's any option for that. Butland not had a great defence in front of him this season. Agreed. We need a better keeper than Butland if we're wanting to win the league. The problem is, John, where are we going to get a better goalkeeper? I think, again, you're going to look at priorities, and we're not going to have a vast amount of money to spend. We do need other areas, I believe, needs substantially strengthening. When we go for this squad, you'll see, I think, the fact that we do need a lot of other players. And yes, we're going to get new owners, but I don't believe that we're going to have a budget that stretches to actually kind of buying a top class goalkeeper. I mean, if you're looking at top draw goalkeepers, you're looking at a substantial outlay of cash these days. I mean, I'm not saying that this is the type of goalkeeper we should go for, but Manchester United have got Andre Onana, who is absolute garbage, and he costs 47 million. I mean, that's mentalist money, isn't it? 47 million pounds for someone like Andre Onana is just absolutely ridiculous money. The young lad that Liverpool signed from Valencia, Georgi Mamalashvili, it cost them 29 million pounds. Their backup goalkeeper, who's Kameen Kelleher, he's a fantastic goalkeeper, but they're looking at somewhere in the region of 25 to 30 million for him. So the money you have to pay for top class goalkeepers is astronomical. Yes, you do occasionally get lucky. Nottingham Forest got Matt Sells from Strasbourg for 6 million, and he's absolutely top class, really good goalkeeper. So yes, you can get lucky like that, and you can perhaps find somebody, and maybe that is something we can do. Maybe that's something we can do, and maybe that's something Niels Coppen can do. I would just say that we need to look at this in terms of, is buying a new goalkeeper a priority at this stage of the season? I would say not. I would say it isn't. In the summer, it is not really a priority. And as he said, we've got £25 million budget. We've got to be careful with that money. Get 2 proper centre backs. Nice. I like what you've done there. We are the people. And a right back. 4 quality additions can tip the balance in our favour, says Blue Nose John. Exactly, Blue Nose. I don't think the squad is that bad, says Grant. Get Gogic from St Mirren. He's a no-nonsense defender. I think there's elements of that. I think there is elements of needing to shop in Scotland. I think there really is elements of needing to shop in Scotland for players. So 10% of you now say to keep James Tavernier. I must say I disagree with you, but fair enough. You're entitled to your opinions. Okay, let's move it on to the defenders. These are our defenders. And like I said, I'd kind of forgotten that Fernandes was even at the club. I really had forgotten that Rafael Fernandes was at the club. I mean, that has to go down now as one of the most bizarrest signings of all time, bringing in a player who now is not figuring at any stage. I mean, was he even on the bench on Sunday? That's the question. An interesting one, isn't it? Interesting one. I don't know. Would you? It's weird. You're bringing this player on loan who you've supposedly got high hopes for, and at the end of the day, you kind of say, we're not going to use him. We're not going to play him. It does seem very, very weird to me with Rafael Fernandes that he isn't figuring at all. I don't know what's going on with that one. It does seem weird. It does seem very, very weird indeed. Does seem weird. Please, obviously, let me know your thoughts on that one. It does seem very, very weird with him. Okay, so let's get back to this squad. We've got a comment here. Let's bring it up. Loads of comments. Grant says, I said when PC was here, it wasn't the squad, it was the inability to change tactics. And I think we've kind of seen that, haven't we, over the last few weeks and months, that Barry Ferguson's flexibility and tactical flexibility, really does work. Really does work. If Gogic played for us, he'd be seeing yellows and reds every week. The way things are, I probably would, Tunnocks. I probably would. Proper, Tav, King, Fraser, Fernandes all need to go to get our money back. Sell Ridvan. Sell Tav and King, says Grant Willis. I mean, let's have a little look at that list. So we've got a defence there, and I would say that the defence, to me, needs a lot of work. I honestly think that our defence needs a lot of work. It really does need a lot of work. It needs, it needs looking at realistically. It really does need looking at, because it's for too long. I think, if you look at some of the goals we've conceded in recent times against Fenerbahce, against Celtic, we've given away some really, really stupid goals and some sloppy goals. So, personally speaking, I do believe that we do need a lot of work on that defence. It does need development. And you're right, Airwolf. Proper is decent in the Eredivisie, but he's awful in Scotland. He's just not up to the speed, the physicality of this, of this league. Right, I'm going to put a bit of a poll up. So, which is the biggest priority? This is the question. So, the biggest priority is Actually, I want to change that. I'm going to end that poll. I'm going to put a different poll. I'm changing my mind on this poll. So this is the new poll. So the new poll that's going to go up is going to be positional. Okay. So the question is, which is the biggest priority? Which is the biggest priority to reinforce this summer? So is it defense? Is it midfield? Is it attack? Or all? Okay, so there's the poll. New poll, guys. Can you vote in the poll? Let me know your thoughts on the new poll. What is your thoughts? Now, my personal opinion is you build from the back. You build from the back. You build a solid foundation on which to build a title-winning team. If you look at the great title-winning teams of the past, you look at the Rangers, great Rangers teams. They had solid defenses. Gary Stevens, Terry Butcher, Davy McPherson, Davy Robertson, Richard Goff, Lorenzo Amoruso, Fernando Rickson, players of that caliber. You go and you look in the English Premier League. You look at the great Arsenal teams that won leagues: Lee Dixon, Tony Adams, Steve Bold, Nigel Winterburn. You look at the great Manchester United teams that won leagues: Gary Neville, Gary Pallister, Steve Bruce, Dennis Irwin. These were quality players that they built on their defense. And for me, that's what we've got to look at, is building on this defense. Grant says we need 2 no-nonsense centre-backs. If we got a good offer for any player, then I would buy Suter's brother. It must be sold. We can't afford a scenario what we had with Alfie, Kent and Lundstrom. So players walking for nothing. Agreed. Airwolf says we need a right back, a left back and 2 centre-backs. I mean, if we look at that list now, if we go through that list and we go through those players and we look at who we need to keep, who we need to sell. Look, I mean, let's talk James Tavernier. Let's talk James Tavernier. James Tavernier has been a great servant for the club, right? He has been. No matter what we think of him, I'm not his biggest fan, and he's been a good servant for the club. He's done well for the club over the years. Yes, he's done a lot of personal accolades and not a lot of team accolades. That's 100% not all down to him. It's down to the managers. It's down to the players. It's down to a lot of things. So. But I think, if you look at the situation, with Tav, yes, defensively, he is very questionable. And all his career, he has been questionable. All his career, his defense has not been his strongest suit. His suit has always been his strength going forward. Now, and his goal scoring. Now, this season, I would say that that has fallen off. He hasn't really, got the numbers this season in terms of goals and assists. His quality going forward is poor this year. It's not as good as it was previously. So, I honestly think that we need to look at the situation. And we've come to the point, I think, with James Tavernier where we need to move him on. And Grant's right. He's on too much money to give him a new deal. I think it's 36, 38K, whatever he's on, nearly £40,000 a week. He's not going to take a pay cut. Players don't take pay cuts. It's not going to happen. So I personally believe that it's time to move Tav on. That this summer we sell him to Turkey or Saudi or somewhere like that. I honestly think we have to get rid of Tav this summer. Tav's got to go this summer. Really has got to go this summer. Gorgut, new name in the live chat, says we've got some good defenders, mate. I don't know what everyone's saying defense for. To be honest, all areas need improving, but we need a deadly striker. I agree. We do need a good striker. Gorgut, I would say our defense is not good. You look at the amount of sloppy goals we concede in games from defensive howlers. I mean, the goals against Fenerbahce where Hefte dives in and loses the ball. The 2 goals on Sunday were both defensive lapses. The Maida jump at the back post, Tav and Sterling get out jumped and outworked by Maida, who's not the biggest guy on the pitch. I wouldn't agree with you, mate. I think the defense is shit, if I'm being honest with you. I think the whole defense needs an overhaul. The only guy you get rid of is Proper. I think there's a lot more out of that need to go. Need new leadership model. We do need new leaders within the squad. Agreed. We need a stronger defense, but I'd sell Proper. I'd definitely sell Proper. William, they can take a bit of what? Absolutely, yeah. I keep forgetting Balogun is about 70. Yeah, I mean, for me, Tav's got to go. He's got to be sold this summer. Ridvan, look, personally, I like Ridvan. I'd keep Ridvan. You know, but the only worry I've got with Ridvan is his injury history. You know, he's got a bad injury history. He really has. He misses a lot of games, and you know, for me, as good as Ridvan is, and he is a good player. Don't get me wrong. I think he is a very good player, and I think going forward, he's good defensively. I think he's a better left back than Hjefte. I mean, personally, I would be starting him over Hjefte every single week. He's just a better all-round player than Hjefte. He's more solid defensively. He's better going forward. His end product is better. He's just a better all-round player. And I know a lot of that is down to the fact that obviously Ridvan is a lot more experienced. He is older. He's had more time playing the game. So yeah, I get that. But look, I do believe that with Ridvan, we need to look at it in terms of if a good offer came in for him from Besiktas or one of the Turkish clubs, then I think we would have to take the money. We'd have to take the money. And I would hate that. I really would. I like him. I do like Ridvan. I think he's a very good footballer. But like I said, I think the one thing, as Airwolf says, you can't depend on him. That is the big thing with Airwolf. Airwolf, we can depend on you. With Ridvan, is we can't depend on him. We can't depend on him. Why don't they play Hjefte further up? He's decent on the attack, but terrible in defence. Gorguts, that's something I've been saying for a long time. I think he's a left winger. I don't think he's a left back. So yeah, Proper has to be sold. Proper is just one of the worst defenders I've seen in a Rangers shirt for a long time. The guy is an absolute bomb scare. Absolute bomb scare. To say that he was signed to replace Goldson and Davis, I mean, you could argue, is he any better than Goldson and Davis? Well, I would say no, he's not any better than Goldson and Davis. And Goldson was looking pretty shaky near the end of his Rangers career. And Davis was looking really, Davis, a lot of people say that Davis was a very poor defender. But I would say Davis is a better defender than Proper. I would rather start Ben Davis over Robin Proper. Absolutely, he can't hit the ball. Absolutely. Grant Willis says, if Chelsea really want Hjefte, let him go as long as it's for decent money. I don't think there was any truth in that story, mate. I've got a few friends who are Chelsea fans, and they knew nothing of it, mate. I think it was media naughtiness. Suter has to stay for me. Hjefte is very young. Yes, Gorguts. He's about 20 years old. Popper was a Clemens signing, not Coppens, due to assistant coming from Twente. There we go. I would say Proper needs to go. He needs to be sold, but Suter needs to stay. For me, John Suter is the best defender in the club. He is the best defender in Scotland. He is an absolute top player. Now, I know that he gets injured, but no, I mean, obviously nowhere near as much as he used to. But, for me, he's top class. Really is good, a quality footballer. And I really, really like John Suter. I think he's a very good footballer. I think he really is. So for me, you've got to keep hold of John Suter. And you've got to extend him as well. John Suter, for me, needs a new contract. We need to tie him down to a new long-term deal. We really, really do. He does need to stay. We do need to give him that new contract. We do need to keep the boy on board. I think that is something we definitely need to look at. Hjefte is only 20 yet. Oh, I definitely keep Sterling. Some player in there. Absolutely, I like Sterling as well. And Ciala and Sterling, I think, are no-brainers. They have to both stay. And Ciala, I think, is going to be a very good defender as he gets older. I think, yes, he's made some mistakes recently, but like I said, he's a very young player. He's a player still learning the game. And before he came to us, he had not played any first-team football. So, this is his first ever go at playing first-team football. And, he has kind of been thrown into the deep end. He really has. So, yeah, I agree. Sorry, Dado. I don't control the adverts. It's YouTube, mate. Yeah, the clearance from Sterling was insane. Absolutely. 100% was insane. Yeah. So, yeah, I would say for me, Enciala stays, Sterling stays. Sterling, I know he has his injury problems, but the fact that he can play in a number of different positions, right back, left back, centre midfield. For me, you've got to keep hold of him as well. He's got to stay at the club. He, for me, is an absolute must for this club. Really, really is a must for this club. Casemiro Joe won't be here next season. We can forget him. He's gone. For definite. Fernandez, he will be gone as well. Obviously, I think we've seen that there's literally no confidence in Fernandez at all. He's not here. He's not playing. He's not being picked. So I think we can write him off. Definitely write him up. Grandma says, I just hope the players out on loan are wanted permanently by the clubs they're at. I wouldn't want any of them back apart from the young ones. That's a great point. Obviously, the Matondos of this world, the Dowells, the Davises. I mean, I'll be honest with you, Grant. I think Birmingham would want Dowell and they would want Davis. There's a lot of positivity towards those guys down in the Birmingham area. Definitely. Okay. So, look, I mean, in terms of what we're keeping defensively, we've got Ridvan, we've got Jeff Tate, we've got Sterling and Ciala and Suter. So I do think there is going to be a need to invest a substantial amount of money in this defence this summer. Quality players. We do need some quality players. We Are the People says we need to find a centre-back, no-nonsense defender, similar to the French defender Marcel Desailly. That is going to cost a fortune if we have someone like him. But I know what you're saying. Someone similar to him would be good. But look, if we move off a lot of the players we're saying, I think Leon King's time at Rangers is coming to an end as well. He hasn't got a go at all since the Champions League. So I think we do need to look at defence this summer. I do think we need a right back. I think we need two centre backs. So I do think there is a need to go and get some defenders there. So 2 right back, 2 centre backs, and a right back, I think will be a priority this summer for the club for definite going forward. Right, let's have a little look at the midfield. Here is the midfield. I think this is going to be a bit simpler, to be honest with you, because I think there's a lot of talent in this midfield that can be better used and can be better applied, shall we say. So let's have a little look, shall we? Let's have a little look. Okay, let's have a little look. Who would you keep in this midfield? Which players would you sell? Which players would you keep in this midfield? Okay, so let me know in the comments, who would you keep? Who would you sell from this midfield? And I think there's a number of candidates for keeping. There's some good quality in this midfield. There's some players we may have a job keeping hold of this summer. Nicholas Raskin, for example, if he continues playing the way he is and he does the same for Belgium, I think there's going to be a lot of clubs who will come knocking for him. I do believe that. I honestly believe that. So, I think that is the possibility there. That is the possibility. Right, so we've got here, keep Hadji, give him a new contract. Airwolf says Bayrami needs to go. Dio, there's a player there, absolutely. Need 3 windows, defence, forwards, 10 midfield. That's a good shout. Sell Bayrami, agree. Sell Bayrami. We'll get to Bayrami. So Barron for me is a keep. I think we do need to keep him. I think that is a definite. Barron stays for me. The lad is quality. He's only going to get better. He's only going to develop. He's only going to improve. So for me, he has to stay. He's got to stay. I don't think Rangers will even look at selling him, if I'm being honest with you. Obviously, you can add into that squad Lyle Cameron, who will come in the summer. We've got the pre-contract with Cameron from Dundee. He will be here in the summer. So, we've got Cameron arriving. We know that's a signing we've already got over the line. We know that one is already going to arrive. I agree with Airwolf. There's definitely a player in Dio. I thought Dio played very well against Celtic. He controlled the game well. He bought time for himself. He played the ball effectively. Dio is a player. He is a player. And I think Dio is only going to get better in time. I think he's another player who, give it another couple of years, is going to be worth a substantial amount of cash. Now, he's under contract until 2028. So I don't think there's a lot of potential there for sale. There's not potential to get worried about his contract. And like I said, come 26, 27, that's a player that, we may be looking to move on for a substantial fee. But Dio looks a player. Bayrami, for me, I agree. It's time for Bayrami to go. It really is. You know, Bayrami looks poor, doesn't he? He looks a really poor player. He looks like he can't be asked most of the time. He's very hit and miss. Considering what we paid for him, you know, and the kind of the hype that he came in with. I mean, I don't know if you've seen that Albanian guy on Twitter who seems to have gone very quiet of late, who was giving it the big Bayrami, you know, making Bayrami look like Kevin De Bruyne and look like what's the guy who played Musiala, the German, you know, making him look like that good, but he, you know, which he certainly isn't. For me, I would move Bayrami on in the summer. The guy just looks not interested, you know, looks severely not interested. Cherney, I would hope we can keep Cherney. I think, you know, that's one we do need to keep hold of. I think that is someone, you know, he is a talent. He's a quality footballer. You know, he's the Czech Robin. He runs at people. He commits people. The only thing I think that Cherney needs to develop in terms of his players, he needs to be a little bit less ball greedy. I think at times he is too ball greedy and he doesn't release the ball or he doesn't shoot quick enough. He tries to walk the ball into the net sometimes. I think that's something that needs to be coached into him, that he needs to use the ball a little bit faster. I think he really does. Let's have some few comments before we move on. McCaw's a nice lad, but not good enough. Matondo, Lawrence need to go. Cherney will be in Bartlini. Bayrami sold. Hadji on a free. Funny. Agreed. Sell Bayrami. Keep Bayrami the Pepperami. Triantis at Hibs would be a decent buy. Yeah, I mean, he looks a good cent. I mean, is he there permanently or is he still on loan from Sunderland? Anyway, Raskin and Diamonde leaving the summer. Is it? Yeah, I agree. Big fee. Big fee. I'll take that Lainez boy from Villa. Some speed on him. Too cheap for Raskin. Cherney too greedy. Doesn't like to see the bigger picture. Like I said, yeah, I think that's something he needs to work on, mate. He does need to work on and develop. So I do agree with you on that one, Errol. He does need to improve that. Hadji, I would love to see Hadji stay. Don't get me wrong. I'm a massive Hadji fan. I think he's quality. I mean, go back and watch my videos, you know, in the summer when I was sticking up for him, when I was saying that, you know, Clement was the problem. He needs to go. And you know, we definitely need Hadji. Look, I mean, look, what I've heard on the Hadji situation is that he turned down a new contract. You know, he turned down a new deal. Now, whether or not that's true, I don't know. There's the other rumor, of course, going round was that he was being offered a new deal, but you know, he was being asked to take a pay cut, which is ridiculous. You know, players not going to take pay cuts to stay. That's just not the way it works. And I mean, personally speaking, I would be absolutely fucking fuming if Tavernier was kept on his current wage and Hadji has to take a pay cut. I mean, for me, Hadji's a better player. But look, I would love Hadji to stay. I would absolutely love Hadji to stay, but I don't honestly think he will. If I'm being honest with you, I don't think Hadji will stay. I think he will move in the summer. I think he will, you know, he will go somewhere else for free because he'll want the payday. You know, it's sad because, you know, the lad has been very, very professional. You know, has been very professional this season. You know, when he was out of you know, when he was out of the team, he kept going, didn't he? He didn't cry. He didn't take to social media to slag anybody, you know, to slag anybody off. He was first class. He was first class. So look, I don't know. I do honestly hope that he stays, but I think there's a kind of an impasse we've kind of reached with Yanis Hadji at this moment in time. I think there really is. We Other People says 20 million starting price. Don't make mistakes like we did with Morelos. Not selling when big money comes to the table. Agreed. Hadji, We Are the People. FTP. Okay. 2 months ago, I'd say sell Baron, but now I'd say keep him. Good wee player. I agree. Tell Tav, give Hadji extra 3K on a new contract. I would agree with that one. The new owners will offer him better contract if they want Hadji to stay. Very true, JN. Hadji has always wanted to go. He's only talked to get in the shop window, says Grant Willis. Running a poll, please vote. Hadji stay, sign a new deal, leave, or will he leave the club? I do think he will leave the club this summer. I don't think Hadji will be a Rangers player come kick-off next season. I think he will unfortunately leave. But I don't want him to. Let me just put that across. I don't want him to. I want him to stay. I like Hadji. I think he's a cracking footballer. I like him. I like him a lot. Raskin has to stay for me, and I would give Raskin the captaincy next season. I think that's an absolute must. I think when Raskin was the captain, we looked better, we looked more competitive, we looked more bulldog, we looked had more fight in us. So personally speaking, I would give Raskin the captaincy next season, keep him at the club for at least another year, because I think if we keep him at the club for another year and he continues to play for Belgium and he continues to play at the level that he's doing this season, if we get into the Champions League and he plays well in the Champions League, his value is only going to go through the roof. So that's a player that, you could be looking at 25, 30, 35 million for, getting you sort of Matt Riley, Jota money like they got for Raskin. He's that good. He really is that good. Optimus says, I've been wanting Tav gone for ages now, so hopefully he can bug off. James Wilson, 17 at Hearts, another one we should be looking at. I agree, Airwolf. I do want to talk about that. We'll get through the squad and then we'll talk a little bit about that. Rafkin is in the ref's ear more than Tav, lol, and that's what we want. We need a captain like that who's kind of like Callum McGregor, isn't he? That gets in people's faces, annoys the referee, gets things going, for his team. So yeah, I agree. McCausland, I would keep as a squad player. I hear what you're saying about him being a nice lad but not being good enough. Realistically, the guy's a squad player. He's not a starter. He's a squad player, and you can't get rid of the entire squad because we haven't got the money to replace the entire squad. So McCausland is a squad player for me. He for me would stay for that reason, just to be a squad player, not be a starter. Bailey Rice has to stay. I like Bailey Rice. I think he showed against Manchester United. He can cut it against the best. I mean, for me, it's a little bit sad that he hasn't had more of a go since Barry Ferguson's come in. I would have hoped that Barry would have given him a bit more of a go. Him and Finley Curtis, but we haven't seen that. So Bailey Rice, I would hope, gets more of a go going forward, more of a chance to play, in the upcoming games. I want to kind of touch on that more tonight in the pod when we talk about you focusing on Europa and using the league to develop the youngsters. We'll look at that shortly this evening. Okay, let's have a look at the forward players. So Lawrence is listed amongst the forward players. This is an area that needs a lot of attention. I think it's there with the defence. I think along with the defence, we do need a lot of development in the forward areas. Okay, I think that, like I said, I think we need 2 centre backs and a right back. I think we need to look at these forward areas now. Realistically, we're stuck with Cortez. Whatever you think of Oscar Cortez, yes, he's injury prone. Yes, he's missed an awful lot of football this season. I know he's back in training now. He can't play in Europe. So realistically, going forward in the league, we need to use him in the league to give the Cheney's, the Dessers, the Dinios, the Igamans games off. The Bayrami's games off. We need to play Cortez in the league, okay? So Cortez will be here next season. I mean, look, there's nothing we can do about that. We're committed to paying that 4.5 million to Lons. So for me, Cortez will stay. Cortez is here to stay. Like I said, I don't think that's even an option to talk about. Airwolf says, Dessers, get your money back. Lawrence, gone. Dessers should be sold, but I don't know anymore, says Optimus Prime. Dolby, Wilson will be decent additions. Agree. Grant Willis says, we need to extend Raskin's contract to make sure we get a top dollar when he goes. I agree with you on that one as well. So, Cyril Dessers, where do you stand on Cyril Dessers? I mean, personally speaking, I would sell him in the summer. Why would I sell him in the summer? Well, he's under contract until 2027. He's currently scoring goals. He's looking like a footballer, and he's 30 years old. So look at it this way. Is he as a player going to get any better? Is he as a player going to develop any more? Is he going to improve any more over the next season, 2 seasons? No, he's not. He's going to decline. Okay. Because he's going to decline, you're going to lose value on him. This might be the summer to move Dessers on and to use that money to reinvest in getting to top up that 20-25 million and go and look at a top class striker. Someone not top class. We're not going to get top class because we're not going to be able to pay 80, 90, 100 million for a player. But certainly somewhat like a Sam Dalby, like a James Wilson. Dare I suggest a Lawrence Shankland? Something of that ilk. So I would allow Dessers to go. On the Tom Lawrence front, I think he's leaving. I do think he's leaving. You know, I think had Clement stayed, he probably would have got a new deal. He's out of contract in the summer. I think he walks for nothing in the summer. I think it's too late now to do anything. He wasn't sold in January. So, you know, I don't think they're going to give him a new deal. I think he will move for nothing in the summer. Hamza Rigaman obviously has to stay. I know that on the video this morning, I talked about the fact that he is seemingly getting interest from down south. I try and keep on for at least another season. I think, you know, again, like Raskin, he is playing for Morocco regularly over the next year, and he is developing the way he's developed this season, next season. Then this is a player who's going to be worth more again, and his value is going to go up. So for me, it's time to keep him for at least another season and try and obviously get that bit more money for him, you know, next summer. Danilo, I think, will stay because realistically, who's going to buy him? He's missed too much football this season. We're not going to get the £6 million back for him. So I think, you know, again, Danilo will stay this. I think Danilo will stay. But I do think, you know, if you look at that forward area, it is very, very weak. It is an area that does need an awful lot of development. It really genuinely does. So, you know, we're looking at, I think, you know, for me, we're looking at needing to buy, you know, at least one, if not two centre forwards. We're possibly looking at having to buy a right winger. That could be Cheney. Possibly looking at having to buy a left winger to back up Cortez. So we're looking at a good few positions that do still need to be strengthened in the summer. What else have we got? David Hutchison says, can we not do what the Greeks have done and ask for a cut price deal on Cortez? Could do. That's the seafood thing you're on about there, isn't it? We need to see what Cortez can actually do. Yeah, if he stays fit for long enough, that's the problem, Grant. We've got to keep him fit for long enough for him to show us what we can do. Keep Dessers and Igman. I'd keep Igman, Billy Lee. I wouldn't keep Dessers. Dessers cost us the league last season, missing sitters at Ross County, Dundee. Sell. Grant says, I keep Dessers, 2 seasons, 22 goals in each one. How much does that goals cost to replace? The only thing is, Grant, he's not going to get any better over the next 2 seasons. He's going to go downhill because he's 30 years old. And we all know that once you get to that stage of 30, 31, your career starts to downturn. That's the only thing I'd say on that one. I would sell him. I'd sell him now. Hope Barry is part of our... Yeah, after he wins the Europa League. Let's hope so. Wingers, we need goals and assists. Yeah, I think Cheney could well be the right winger that we sign. But I still think we need to get a left winger because you can't rely on Cortez. He misses too many games. And after Cortez, you really haven't got anyone else. So, you know, we're looking at needing to replace a fair few players this summer. There could be a lot of departures this summer from this club, you know, whether it be sales, whether it be contracts ending. There's going to be a lot of players going this summer. And there's going to be a lot of movement around the club. I honestly believe that. Optimus Prime says, Lennon Miller isn't going to go to Rangers or Celtic, but my bro is a Motherwell fan. However, team wanted to pay $5 million for him, but I think Motherwell want more than that. I think the fact that English clubs are now getting interested in buying Lennon Miller, I think his value is going to soar. I think it really will. Now, look, we've made a lot of cuts there, that squad, and I think, you know, like I said, I think, you know, to buy in the summer, I think there's a fair few positions that now we need to replace. There's a lot of players who are going to be going out, so therefore there's a lot of areas we need to replace, a lot of players we need to put into. I think the basic that we need this summer is 2 centre-backs, a right-back, a left winger, a right winger, and 2 centre-forwards. Now, that's a lot of players. That's what 7 players. That's a lot of money. I mean, obviously, you've got to remember that Lyle Cameron is obviously going to come in this summer. So, obviously, we're adding Cameron to the squad. That adds a bit of quality there. But, I mean, looking forward, I mean, a lot of you are suggesting, you know, the likes of Sam Dalby, Lennon Miller, Downs, etc., etc. I believe, personally speaking, you know, that we need to look at Scotland. We need to start looking at Scottish players. We need to start looking at players from the domestic league. You know, players that get what it is to play for Rangers, players that get what it is to play in the SPL, players that don't need time to settle in, that don't need time to hit the ground running, that don't need, you know, 3-4 months to get themselves up to speed with the Scottish League, don't need a month to go IKEA shopping and build their flat pack furniture and move in. So for me, you do need to start looking in this league. And look, I think we need to kind of get away from this snobbery, this anti-Scottish snobbery that there is in the club at the moment. There's a lot of people, I think, within the club and also in the fan base that kind of look at it and go, "Oh, Scottish players, they're all shit. We don't want them." But we've seen, haven't we, with Conor Barron, he's come in and done a good job. And it's not just Scottish players we need to look at. We need to look at players like, players who play in this league who are not necessarily Scottish players. In the past, we've signed Kanija, Kamara from Dundee. We've signed, Kevin Lashvili from, Chris Boyd. We've signed players from within this league and they've gone on to have success. Yes, I know Chris Boyd's Scottish before anybody wants to point that one out. But we have signed players who are not Scottish from within the SPL. So, I think there's a fair few players within this league who could do a job for us. Airwolf's got a decent list here. Wilson, Dolby, Penrice, Triantes would be decent additions. Yeah, I mean, they would. They're good footballers. They're players who understand what it is to play in this league, players that know how to do it in this league, players that have done it in this league. And I think, yes, Europe is important. And I think, you kind of have to buy some players for Scotland, some players for Europe. We saw in the past, didn't we? Chris Boyd, brilliant in the SPL, not so good in Europe. But that was what we had to do. That's how we had to structure it. And I think, if we want to get back to having domestic success, which is what we need, we do need to win the league. We do need to win the Scottish Cup. We do need to start winning doubles and trebles back in this country again and getting back to the top of the Scottish game. We do need to start looking at Scottish-based talent, whether that be Olasanya from St Mirren, Lennon Miller from Motherwell, Sam Dalby from Dundee United, James Wilson from Hearts. Players of that ilk are the sort of players that we should be looking at this summer to develop, to take forward, and to really push this squad on. But there is, looking at that, going to need to be a big clear out. There is going to need to be a big clear out this summer, and I think there's a number of players where important decisions are going to have to be taken at the level of Niels Koppen and at the board level as well, to say, what do we do with these players? And, like I said, for me, you're looking at, the 2026 players. You're not so much looking at 2025 players. I think, of those out of contract players, those ones here, the 25 ones, I think Cheney we try and buy. Lawrence will go. Hadji will probably go. Casanwejo, Fernandez go. Leon Balogun's a difficult one. Yes, his injury history does worry me, and the fact that he does get injured an awful lot. But I personally would give Leon Balogun another year deal, but just as a backup, because we then go and sign 2 more centre-backs, or at least another centre-back to come in. So ahead of Balogun, you've got Suter, the new signing, and Ciala. So Balogun is kind of your last resort to come in, knowing that he would come in, do a decent job. It protects him. It's not overplaying him, making it less likely that he gets injured. I'm not against using him as a backup, but I think the problem this season has been, because of the injuries and the lack of investment in defence, we've kind of had to play him more than we perhaps would have needed to. 2 years, Lennon Miller will be a septic second lad, looking for a bit to Luton. Could be. David Watson, he's another good player, isn't he, from Kilmarnock? Certainly someone we should be looking at as well. But yeah, Big Leon, I wouldn't be kind of averse to, and also we need to be looking at these 2026 players. Like I said, these are players that are coming up for their last 12 months of their deal. You can't allow them to run their contract down. Suter needs a new deal. Tav, I would sell. Kelly, I would sell. And Rice, I'd tie down to a new long-term contract. Those players, again, our decisions need to be taken, and they need to be taken now. They really do. We need to balance with older pros. I'd give Leon another season. I agree. Owen Balogun is on low money, but what a backup player. He's brilliant to keep. This is the point. Leon will come and will stay. And Leon will be happy with being a backup. He's not someone who's going to come in and kick off and cause trouble because he's not playing, and he's not on a massive salary. So, yeah, I agree. Balogun for another year, for me, makes absolute sense as a backup, and purely as a backup, not as someone that you rely on to start. And I think this season, because Prop has been so bad, we've had so many injuries, you've kind of had to rely on Leon as a starter, and that's why he's getting injured so much, because he's having to be played so much. It's not how he would have been intended to have been used. So for me, gotta keep him. Right, guys. Look, I hope you enjoyed the pod. Today we've talked through the squad, obviously, and what's happening with the squad. We will be back this evening with the Europa League show. We're going to talk about the Europa League. We're going to talk about Bilbao game. We're going to talk about the other teams in the Europa League, the path through the competition, how we need to prioritize that, what we can do in the league to counteract that, to give the Europa League obviously the priority it deserves towards the end of the season. Barda Killy says Airwolf. Yeah, I mean, look, you're right. There are good players in Scotland, and as bad as the Scottish League is, and as bad as the teams that get talked down in this league, and there are some poor teams and poor players, but there are also some good footballers in this league who, we need to be looking at. And I know that we have to pay a premium price for them because we're Rangers, but with new owners, hopefully that's something we can do. And it's about looking at building a squad with a core of Scottish talent, like Walter Smith did, to win leagues. You got, like, I think I did a video a few months ago where I looked at, when Rangers won leagues and Rangers won cups, what was the majority of the squad? What was the majority of the starting 11? It was Scottish. There was 5-6 players in every Scottish players in every team, because Walter knew the need for that core of Scottish talent to drive the team on, to know the league, to know the players, to let the other players know what was expected of them. And I think there is that need to have a core of Scottish talent within this squad. I really do. Right, guys, thank you for watching the pod this morning. We'll be back, like I said, this evening. It is 8 o'clock this evening here on the channel. Please, obviously, on the way out, if you can smash the like, comment, share, and subscribe, help the channel to keep on growing. Our first trophy this year, Revenge Eintracht Frankfurt. Yeah, that would be good. If we play Eintracht in the final and beat them, that would be brilliant. Not on penalties, though. Please, not on penalties. Please, not on penalties. Right, guys, thank you for watching. We're back at 8. As always, on the way out, please do those fantastic jobs for me. But, the most important thing, obviously, remember, we are the people.